Okay, friends, let's get ready to start. If you're here, you're looking to make a bracelet, a wristlet looks like this. Pattern is also written. If you are more of a reader than a video person, you can read the pattern, right? I'm going to do my slip knot and I'm going to cast on 9. So I have the slip knot, that's 1 stitch, and then 2, let's count 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Perfect. Now I'm going to do 6 rows of sit stitch, starting with a knit. So it's knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. 1 row. And if your knit and your purl look a little different than mine or my technique or my movements, that's fine. As long as you're getting a knit stitch and a purl stitch, the movement of your hand could be different, right? So here's a purl, I'm gonna knit it. Here's a knit, so it's always knit, purl, knit, purl. And I like to count every row, but you can also count every 2 rows. Just make sure you keep it consistent. Times I have 6 rows. I'm going to stop counting now and I'm going to do a 1-1 rib, right? But for 1-1 rib we need a even number of stitches, and right now we have an odd number. So we're going to make a stitch by knitting and purling on the same stitch. So I'm going to knit 1 in this stitch, but I'm not going to take it off the needle. I'm going to bring the needle to the front, and then I'm going to purl 1 there. You see how I have a knitted and a purl, and then I can bring it down. So now I've made an extra stitch, and then I'm going to knit 1, purl 1 to the end of the row, and I'll do a couple of rows with you. And before I speed up, I'm actually gonna not record this whole thing, but I do need you to continue on for 6 inches, right? So you're gonna knit 1, purl 1, and it should create a rib texture, and you don't have to count the rows, you just have to do it for 6 inches. And then when you're done, come back to the video. And we're back. This is what it looks like when you have 7 inches. And at this point, if you feel like you want it to be, yarn tends to be really stretchy, so I have some room here to breathe. But if you have a bigger hand or one more room, you can stretch it a little, a couple of rows. The standard is made to be 9 inches long. So right now we are at 7 inches. 1 should be the sit stitch, and then 6 inches should be the rib stitch. Now I'm going to go back to the sit stitch and I'm going to start counting again. Because we're going back to sit stitch, we need to make sure that we have a odd number of stitches. And right now we should have 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? Because we did a 1 rib. To go from 10 to 9, back to 9, we're going to knit 2 of them together. So we're just, instead of stabbing through one, we're going to stab to both of them at the same time. And everything else is the same. You yarn over, you pull through, you put both of them off the needle. And now the two of them become one. And then every other stitch you follow in pattern. So that was a knit 2 together, and then purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, purl, turn around, back to knit, purl, and we're going to do 6 more rows, which should give us another inch. Okay, now we should have an inch of seat stitch at each end. And it should look a little bit like this, seed, and the rib in the middle. And I'm going to do, I'm not going to change the number of stitches. I'm still going to work with the 9 we have, and we're going to knit every stitch. So we're switching to stockinette, right? We're going to knit the first row, and we're also going to do 6 rows, so keep counting. So right now my counter is at 12, 6 and 6 of each of the seed inches, and it should be at 18 when I finish 6 rows of stockinette stitch. "18 rows, that is the end of that. We're going to cast, we're going to bind off in pattern. So since we are doing knit 1, purl 1, we're going to, since we're doing stockinette, we're going to knit every stitch as we bind off. We're going to bind off in pattern in stockinette, right? 9 stitches, and we're going to leave a very long tail, whatever that means to you. 10 inches at least. No, maybe more, like 15. Oh well, this one was chosen for me, so let's see where that takes me. I'm going to fasten it off from here. right? It should look like this, and it should be around 9 inches. Let's see, there you go. And we're going to sew it together this way, and then we're going to sew it together this way. And then we're going to secure the clasp with the stockinette part. I'm going to do the sewing with a different color first so you can see it, but then I'm going to undo it and do it with the real color so it won't be seen. But I'll do it in a contrast color for training and quality purposes. Okay, I'm going to use this gray. You should take the end of your tail and put it in your needle, in your tapestry needle. Tie it to the end, like that. Since mine is not attached, I have to cut about here. So we're going to join on the wrong side. So the right side is the stockinette. Everything else is symmetrical. The only part that has a wrong side and a right side is this one. So we're gonna call the stockinette knit side the right side. That's protocol. And the purl side is the wrong side, right? So this is the right side. So we're going to hide the right side, and we're going to sew it together in the wrong side. I'm going to start here. I'm going to make a knot because my yarn is gray and not attached. You don't have to do a knot because if you're working with the orange, with the pumpkin, right? And then I'm going to take, sorry about that, I'm going to take 2 from here and go under this one, right? It's important not to break the yarn. See, it looks like this. And then I'm gonna come over this side again. See, I'm not going back. I'm going only in one direction. I'm not going back and forth. So you can go in either direction, but keep it consistent. I'm always going away from myself, right? And it's looking like this. If you have the orange, it won't be so obvious. You can make it tight at the end, but at first it can be flexible. So you just keep stitching all the way to the end in this direction. And it's going to look a little bit like this, right? And on the other side, it will look like this, but if it's the same color, you won't see it. So now I'm going to go back and do it in pumpkin. Okay, I'm probably going to fast forward through this. this is where we should be at this point. So I'm going to leave the needle attached, but you don't have to. And I'm going to turn it around. You're just pushing it out, right? You're just pushing it out. You're holding the entrance and you're pushing it out. And then you can push it out for the other end. It will stretch a little bit, that's fine. Now you got this, right? And then at this point, we are going to join this end to this end, but first we're going to sneak in the keyring, right? And then we are going to sew these two ends together, right? We should still have our needle here, and we're gonna sew these two. So it's the same. You're gonna pick one stitch on one side and one stitch on the other side. It's gonna be a little awkward because the way that it's round. So the first half it's gonna be easy and the second half is gonna be hard, right? Because now you have to bring these two together somehow. Trust your instincts, go with it. Okay, friends, so we're looking a little bit like this. And if it looks awkward, that's okay, because we're gonna sew one more time, right? Because now we're going to trap the ring. We're going to trap the ring in this too. I'm just going back and forth to close this, right? I'm making a little pocket for this. It has a little room to move around, but it's trapped there and it won't come up here. So just stab from one side to the other and go back and forth twice. It's my recommendation, but feel free to trust your instincts. This guy. Right, so feel free to get creative here too. Since I have an inside, I'm gonna be very flexible, right? I don't care, literally. Nice. Now you can do this. There it is. You made it.